know what they're saying now? That you can just about say goodbye to the whole art of cursive writing that you struggled so hard over with that little dotted line in the middle of those plain paper pages you had in grade school. Thanks to laptop computers and tablets, looping your letters, not to mention holding your pencil just right, which is not easy for lefties like me, is being scribbled out of the class.
My name is Victor Zhang. I'm a freshman at JMU, and I'm a declared history major. Well, when you're typing, or even just writing in pencil, each character is kind of standardized. Like, each character has to look the same. If I write a character or another person writes the same phrase, it's going to be standardized. It's going to look the same, and you can't tell who wrote it. But when it comes to terms of calligraphy, the same phrase will be written differently. You'll still be able to recognize it. You'll still be able to recognize the base of the characters, but there will be a certain style to it. So no two phrases should be written exactly the same.
I used to, yeah. These little things for my kids mean more to me than something that's perfect. That little mommy and daddy looks better than it does if it were typed up. You know, it's like, no, that's the hand. That's them at age 5. If they typed it, other than the grammar, there would be no indication they're 5 or 20. You know, and so that's this 5-year-old's handwriting, and it makes it better and more personal, and it's you know, you have more nostalgia attached to it. So you know, definitely the hard pressed scribbles. Those are awesome.
If I got the same message in email or text message or handwriting, which one would be more valuable to me? I would have to probably say the handwritten ones. I feel like there's probably some, kind of going back to what I said earlier, there was probably some maybe more effort, more thought put into the handwriting, because you can't just press backspace, you can't just press delete. I feel like there's more thought behind making your mark, you know, physically or with you know, with your hand. There's something more personal about it.
Okay, sign the green box.
Been with the university here at the post office about 16 years. When I first started, we would have tray after tray after tray of letters that were coming in. And now that volume has dropped off drastically, but with the packages that the students receive, it has picked up there. With the handwriting, even with sending out packages and letters, the university can get a discount if everything is typewritten instead of handwritten. So the handwriting, I do believe, will probably go away, and we're going to go more to innovations with using the iPad, the handhelds like we use now to sign for packages, because of being legible to go through the system a lot quicker.
I think as technology advances and as people have the interest of saving time, typing is a lot more practical than writing out these extrinsic or very detailed, beautiful pieces of calligraphy. And I think it's easier to have a standard, because, quite frankly, and it's with anyone. I mean, handwriting can get pretty subjective, and some people can't read other people's handwriting. So with calligraphy, it can get subjective as well. So I think it's a lot easier and a lot more practical if everything was standardized. So with typing in the pinging on the computer, I find it a lot more convenient than writing down 100 characters on paper. And then if you bring in the issue of a brush, that'd be a lot more of a hassle, quite honestly.
On paper, you know, I use different types of inks. We use quills, we use metal nibs, we use reeds, brushes, tons and tons of different kinds of things to write with. So there is a lot more availability of tool interaction physically with ink, paper, and pen than there is on an iPad. The other issue with an iPad is, unless you are really quite conscious of how you work and how the tool works, you can't really control moving across a slippery surface with a slippery tool. Now, most new styling have slightly coarser edges to give the impression, or rather to retard the movement across the surface of the iPad, so it slows down that movement, almost mimicking working on a surface like paper with a pen. The problem with that is it's still quite slippery, and you have to have absolute control of the tool, otherwise it just runs rings around.
What do you think is going to become of like handwriting and calligraphy? Like, what do you think? Do you think it'll become like
an
more
extinct art, kind
yeah.
of? I'll kind of compare it to Latin. I mean, Latin is by all means a dead language, but there are still people learning it and the people preserving it. I feel like calligraphy will be the same way. There's people in China, like to this day, that are paid huge amounts of money to just learn to do calligraphy. So you only have a few select, like artisans, professionals, individuals that are still learning. But for the most part, as opposed to like standard mass learning, that's not really the case right now.
Any fear I might have for future generations doesn't have much to do with handwriting versus technology. You know, I think there'll probably be a backlash about it at some point. I think the written word has been around for a long time. I don't think they keep saying it's disappearing as a visual world now. There's an image world. I think there'll always be a place for text.
Oh, and there's a friend on Facebook, and she said she was sitting at the doctor's, and she was sitting next to this child, and the child was drawing on an iPad, and she took a sketchbook out, and she was writing some notes in a sketchbook, making some sketches for a piece of work that she wanted to construct. And she heard the child turn to her mother and say, "Oh, Mommy, can I have a piece of paper and a pen?" And the mother turned to her and said, "I don't have either."